Okay, so we're going to be doing chapter 2 from the book Gilgal, written by Paul Jinadu. It says here, the problems you face depend on where you stand. Chapter 2. The problems you face depend on where you stand. Once you have left Egypt, you are no longer under the sway of the spiritual pharaohs of this world. If you can see the pharaohs in your dreams, you have not left their territory. Remember, you can be led by the Lord, and God can do miracles in answer to your prayers, while at the same time you are still going round in circles in the wilderness, achieving nothing. Misuse of the anointing. There are certain things the laying on of hands cannot achieve. We have overused the word anointing. We have oversimplified it and debased it. Very often it is hard to be humble when you are a minister. For example, there was a time I was invited to someone's house for Sunday lunch. Other members of the church were also invited. The side table was heavying with different assortments of delicious morsels. I picked a rice dish. As usual in our culture, I was served an extra large portion of everything, which I could never finish. When I told them I could not finish it, many people volunteered to finish it for me. They claimed they would scoop up an extra anointing left on my plate. This is quite unbiblical. On another occasion, at the end of the service, a couple brought their two children to me for prayer. They asked if I would pray for the little baby who was running a high fever. They came straight to the front before others could see me. As I prayed, I noticed her little brother, a boy of 6, was hanging on to my trouser leg. His father had brought him to tap into the anointing. Right there on the spot, both children were healed. On another occasion, I was invited for lunch after church at another member's house. When the person went back to work the following Monday, he was promoted with nearly double his salary. When the news spread, I was inundated by invites to lunch, people wanting to tap into the anointing for promotion. Another testimony was that of an architect whose work had completely dried up. Though things were tight financially, he decided to treat my wife and I to a Chinese restaurant after church. We enjoyed the lunch and thought no more of it. Then we went back to the UK. I returned by myself 3 months later, and this brother and his wife approached me again, both beaming with broad smiles. They wanted to treat me to another Sunday lunch at the same Chinese restaurant. Chinese restaurants in Nigeria were not cheap in those days. The couple assured me the pleasure was all theirs. However, I couldn't help wondering how they could afford to take me out to lunch again so soon, given the state of their finances. It was only halfway through the lunch when they opened up. Ever since we brought you here on your last trip to Nigeria, our business had picked up tremendously. Well, I was so happy for them. Can you imagine what happened to me after that? Chinese, and more Chinese restaurant invites followed. I had to put a stop to it. God can do what He likes at any time, but we should not think He needs to use a special person as a point of contact. Benefits of going directly to God. There are certain benefits of going directly to God for our needs and challenges. The enemy will fear you. One of them is recognition by the enemy. Each time you confront your problems directly, the enemy takes note. Each time you win a battle, he keeps a record. The more you win, the less effective the enemy attacks become. You build up a kind of immunity. Then you can afford to solicit prayer support from others in your church or fellowship. For you, the devil, our one and only real enemy, will have to say, as in Acts 19:15, Jesus I know and Paul I know. He will acknowledge you with respect. A team is only as good as its players. A praying group or a praying church where all participants are seasoned warriors will be formidable. Not just gathering of crowds who come to night vigils for refuge or insurance against future challenges. When it comes to prayer meetings, numbers don't count. Only unity and the spiritual stature of individual members. Warrior angels at the ready. If you are a worshiper, you will be surrounded by worshiper angels. If you are a generally prayerful person, then you will be surrounded by messenger angels. If, like Elisha, you wage war in the heavenlies, then you will have warrior angels encamped around you. If one is not an active minister to one degree or other, not engaged in master's business, no warriors will camp near him. They do not station their garrison around a casual warrior whose only battles are for personal needs. So a person who is active for God will be given the tools to succeed and live in peace. Psalms chapter 4 verse 8. In peace I will lie down and sleep, for you alone, Lord, will make me dwell in safety. We don't need to pray for or mention the need for these angels. All we need to know is God will work things out in the background. I'm not sure Elisha saw the chariots and horsemen surround him at Dothan. He knew he was never alone. He didn't need to see the angels before he would believe he was protected by his God. He therefore only prayed for the eyes of his servant to be opened. That is chapter 2.